My stepbrother bullied me my whole life, while my mother defended him. Now he lost his house and demands to live in the one I inherited. But I said no, and he showed up screaming to destroy my property. I'm 28 years old. I work as a freelance graphic designer, and for like 3 weeks now, I haven't been able to sleep well because my stepbrother Tyler, who's 34, has basically been harassing me to let him live in my house, the house I inherited from my paternal grandparents. And when I say harassing, I'm not exaggerating. Like he showed up at my door yelling at me and everything. But for this to make sense, I need to go back a lot. To when I was like 6 or 7 years old and my mom married Michael, Tyler's dad, because that's when everything went to hell. I mean, that's when this nightmare that still haunts me started. Before Michael and Tyler came into our lives, my mom, Patricia, and I lived alone, after my parents got divorced when I was like 4 years old. I don't remember much from that time, to be honest. But I do remember that my mom was different, more present, I guess. Although it's not like she was the most affectionate mom in the world either. When she met Michael, everything changed super fast. Like they got married really quickly. I think in less than a year of dating. And suddenly, Tyler, who was like 12 or 13 at the time, moved in with us because apparently his biological mom wasn't in the picture or something like that. They never really explained that part to me. And from day one, literally, the first day Tyler was in our house, my mom completely changed with me. Like I had stopped existing or like I was a nuisance in her perfect new family with Michael and his son. Tyler was horrible to me. I mean, he was a textbook bully. He would hide my things, push me when the adults weren't looking, tell me I was ugly and that's why my dad left. Super cruel things that a 1-2-year-old shouldn't be saying to a 6-year-old girl. And when I would tell my mom, she basically ignored me or told me to stop exaggerating, and that Tyler was just joking. That I needed to understand that it was hard for him too to adapt to a new family. Can you believe it? I was 6 years old and I was supposed to be the mature one in the situation. And Michael, well, he just ignored everything Tyler did wrong. His son could do whatever he wanted and there were never any consequences. While if I left a plate unwashed, they would yell at me like I had committed a crime. The years that followed were basically more of the same but worse, because Tyler was growing up and getting crueler, and my mom paid less and less attention to me. By the time I was like 10 years old, it was super obvious that she preferred him. Like Tyler could ask for whatever he wanted, and he'd get it. New shoes every month, video games, an expensive computer for his room, whatever. While I had to beg for new clothes when the ones I had didn't fit anymore. And the worst part wasn't even the material stuff, you know? The worst part was that when Tyler had some achievement, like a soccer game or something at school, my mom would run to see him, take 1,000 photos, brag about him to everyone, but when I had something, like when I won an art contest at school in 6th grade, she didn't even go to the ceremony. She said she had to work, but then I found out she had gone to watch Tyler play soccer that same day. My mom also had this horrible habit of comparing me to my biological dad. Every time I did something she didn't like, she would say things like, "You're just like your father, selfish and ungrateful," or "Your father was also a failure who never valued anything." And there I was, swallowing my tears because I learned from a young age that crying only made her angrier. My dad, by the way, tried to keep in contact with me after the divorce, but my mom made it super difficult for him. She would change visitation schedules at the last minute, wouldn't let me answer his calls, until eventually he kind of gave up, which hurt me a lot. But now, as an adult, I understand that my mom probably pushed him away on purpose, because it was convenient for her to have only me to dump her frustration on. When I got to middle school, things were unbearable. Tyler was like 18 or 19 and still living at home because he was at the local community college. And he was still being a jerk to me, but now in more subtle ways because we were older. Like he would steal money from my room, use my things without permission and break them, invite his friends over, and they would make fun of me in front of everyone. And my mom still did nothing. In fact, if I complained, she would accuse me of causing drama and not being able to let go of the past. As if the past was years ago and not literally yesterday, when Tyler threw my science project in the trash because he thought it was ugly and took up too much space on the dining room table. The only good thing from that whole time were my paternal grandparents, my biological dad's parents, who were always there for me even though my mom tried to push them away too. They lived like an hour away, and whenever they could, they would pick me up and take me to their house. They treated me like I mattered, like I was valuable. They would buy me things, listen when I told them about school, celebrate my birthdays properly, Not like my mom, who basically forgot my birthday every year or did something super mediocre, while Tyler's birthday was like a national event with a big party and everything. My grandparents also realized what was happening at my mom's house. Obviously, it wasn't that hard to see. And when I was like 15, they offered for me to move in with them. And I said yes without thinking twice because honestly, I couldn't take it anymore. My mom didn't even put up any resistance when I told her I was going to live with my grandparents. I think she was even relieved. Like she said something like, "Well, if that's what you want." And Michael didn't say anything either. And Tyler, well, he was happy I was leaving. More space for him and his stuff. So I moved in with my grandparents right before starting my junior year of high school, and those years living with them were the best of my life up to that point. Seriously. They supported me in everything, helped me with homework, went to all my school activities, taught me how to cook, gave me a safe space where I could be myself without fear of being insulted or ignored. When I graduated from high school, they were there in the front row clapping like crazy, and my mom, Michael, and Tyler didn't even come. My mom said Tyler had something important that day, or something like that. I don't remember the exact excuse, but I wasn't even surprised anymore. My grandparents also paid for my college. All of it. Tuition, books, a small apartment near campus, everything. Because they wanted me to have the opportunities they couldn't give my dad. And I was super grateful. Like, I don't have words to express how much that meant to me. I studied graphic design because I always liked art, and I graduated like 6 years ago, in 2019, with good grades and everything. And again, my mom, Michael, and Tyler didn't go to the ceremony. My mom said they had a family trip planned. A trip that obviously didn't include me, even though technically I was still family. But well, I was used to it by that point. After graduating, I got some graphic design jobs. Nothing spectacular at first, but I was building my portfolio, and eventually I started working freelance, which has been going pretty well for me. I make enough to live comfortably, and I have the freedom to work from home, which is something I really value. During all this time, I kept living in the apartment my grandparents had gotten me. Although they were getting older, my grandma was like 78 and my grandpa 81, and I would visit them every week without fail because I loved them with all my heart. They were the only people who really cared about me. Like 2 years ago, in 2023, my grandpa got sick, like one of those illnesses that has no cure, pancreatic cancer or something like that. I don't remember exactly, and he went very quickly, in a matter of months. It was devastating. I cried for weeks. I felt like I had lost the only real father I'd ever had. And then, just 5 months later, my grandma also passed away. The doctors said it was a heart attack, but I know it was because she couldn't live without my grandpa. They were together for like 55 years. You know, it's one of those love stories you don't see anymore. When they died, I felt like the floor had been ripped out from under me. I was completely alone. I didn't have anyone else, because with my mom, I had gone years barely talking. Just occasional messages at Christmas or something like that. And with Tyler, obviously, I had no relationship whatsoever. Turns out my grandparents left me everything in their will. Their house, which was a small but nice house in a quiet neighborhood, and their savings, which wasn't a fortune but was enough to be comfortable for a while. The house was completely paid off. No mortgage or anything. So I moved there after sorting out all the legal paperwork, which took like 6 months because those things are super slow. My mom didn't even go to my grandparents' funeral. She said she was too busy with work, and Tyler didn't go, obviously. So it was just me, well, with some friends I had made in college who were super sweet to me during that whole process. Fast forward to like 2 months ago, October of this year, 2025, and I hadn't talked to Tyler in literally 2 years, like zero contact, not even on social media or anything. And suddenly, I get a message from him on Facebook. And when I say I was shocked, that's an understatement, because this guy has never reached out to me for anything other than to bother me. The message said something like, "Hi, Olivia. I know we haven't talked in a long time, but I need to ask you a favor. I'm in a difficult situation, and I was wondering if I could stay at your house for a while. My landlord is evicting me, and I have my daughter Sophia with me. She's 5 years old, and we need a place to stay while I find something more permanent. It would just be temporary. I promise." When I read that message, I got so angry. Like, seriously? After years of treating me like trash, now you're asking me for a favor? And he didn't even ask nicely. Like, there were no apologies. There was no acknowledgement of everything he did to me. Just give me what I need, and that's it. I responded after thinking about it for like a whole day. I told him no, that my house wasn't available and that he needed to look for another option. I tried to be polite even though honestly he didn't deserve it. His response was immediate and super aggressive. He said things like, "You've always been selfish. My daughter has nowhere to sleep and you have a whole house to yourself. Our mom was right about you. You've never known how to value family." And there I was, reading that feeling like I was 10 years old again, being insulted at the dining room table. After that exchange, I started getting messages from other extended family members, aunts, uncles, cousins who don't even normally talk to me, all of them telling me I had to help Tyler, that his daughter Sophia was innocent in all this, that I had the resources and wasn't being a good person by refusing, that family helps each other, blah, 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 all those things people say when they want to manipulate you. And I'm thinking, where were all these people when I was the one who needed help? Where were they when my mom was ignoring me and Tyler was bullying me? Nobody lifted a finger then, but now I'm the bad guy in the story. Basically, a week after all that message drama, my mom showed up at my house. Like without warning. She knocked on the door, and when I opened it, there she was. With that face she makes when she's upset with me, which is basically the only face she's shown me for the last 20 years. She didn't even greet me properly. She came into my house without permission, sat down in my living room and started telling me that Tyler was going through a hard time, that his ex-partner had left him and now he was alone with Sophia, that he had been evicted because he lost his job, that he needed help and I was his only option because she and Michael lived in a one-bedroom apartment and didn't have space, and that I should help him because that's what family does. I told her no. I explained to her, even though I shouldn't have to give her explanations, that Tyler had been horrible to me my whole life, that she had been horrible to me my whole life, that they had ignored, belittled, and mistreated me, and that I didn't owe them anything, absolutely nothing. My mom got really angry, started yelling that I was being dramatic, that Tyler was just a kid when all that happened, that I needed to get over the past, that her granddaughter, technically my niece, although I don't even know her, was going to end up on the street because of me. And there I was, listening to her yell in my own house. The house my grandparents left me, because they actually loved me. And I felt so much anger, but also so much sadness because part of me still wanted my mom to love me, you know? Even just a little bit. But it was obvious she never would. That to her, I would always be less important than Tyler. I asked her to leave, told her my decision was final and I wasn't going to change my mind. And she left, furious, slammed the door and everything. Very much her style. I thought that was the end of it, but I was wrong. Because like a week later, at like 9 at night on a Tuesday, Tyler showed up at my house, knocked on the door like he was going to break it down, and when I opened it, he pushed the door and came in without permission. He looked super angry. His eyes were red like he hadn't slept in days, and he started yelling at me that I was a bitch, that I had always been a jealous bitch who couldn't stand to see him happy, that I owed him this because our parents had also helped me when I was young, which is a total lie, because they never helped me with anything. Everything I had was thanks to my grandparents. I was terrified. Seriously, because Tyler is big, like he's about 6 feet tall and heavy, and I'm like 5'4" and weigh about 110 pounds. And he was there yelling at me in my own house and I didn't know what to do. I told him to leave or I was going to call the police. And he laughed in this super creepy way and said, "Go ahead, call them. Tell them you don't want to help a 5-year-old girl who has no roof over her head. Let's see who looks like the monster." Eventually he left, but not before telling me that this wasn't going to stay like this, that I was going to regret it. Things like that sounded like threats but not specific enough to do anything legal about it. 2 days later, I woke up and my house was covered in eggs. Like someone had thrown eggs at my door, at my windows, at my car that was parked outside. It was a total mess. I don't have proof that it was Tyler, but obviously it was him. Who else would it be? I went to the police station and made a report, told them everything. The messages, Tyler's visit, the threats, the vandalism. And the officer was kind, but basically told me that without evidence they couldn't do much. To install security cameras, to document everything. So that's what I did. I installed cameras all over the house, like at the door, at the windows, in the garage. I spent like $1,000 on a decent security system because honestly I was scared of what Tyler might do. My mom called me a few days after the egg incident, but not to ask how I was or apologize for Tyler's behavior, but to tell me I was exaggerating, that it was probably some neighborhood kids, to stop blaming Tyler for everything bad that happened in my life, and that's when I realized she was never going to change. She was always going to defend him no matter what he did. I was always going to be the villain in her story. I told her I think we shouldn't talk for a while, that I needed space, and she said something like, fine, if that's what you want, but you're going to end up alone and bitter. And she hung up. It's been like 3 weeks since that incident, and the truth is, I'm still super stressed. I check the cameras constantly. I wake up at night with any noise. I've had to block a bunch of relatives on social media because they keep sending me messages telling me I'm horrible, selfish. How can I sleep at night knowing that Sophia is suffering? And look, I feel bad for Sophia. Seriously. She's not to blame for having a father like Tyler, but I can't fix that. It's not my responsibility, and letting Tyler back into my life would be self-destructive. I know it. Turns out Tyler found a place to stay eventually. I don't know where or with whom because obviously we have no contact, but a cousin told me that he and Sophia are living with his ex-partner again. Apparently they worked things out or something like that, so all that drama about the girl being left on the street was pure manipulation, like I suspected from the beginning. My mom hasn't called me again. I haven't called her either. And honestly, I don't know if I want to have any kind of relationship with her in the future. Because why? She showed over and over again that she doesn't care about me, that Tyler is always going to be her priority, and I need to accept that and move on. The other night, I was sorting through some old boxes of my grandparents, things I still hadn't gone through since I moved into their house. And I found a photo album with pictures of me from when I was little, before my mom married Michael. And there's one particular photo where I'm with my grandparents at some park. It must have been like 6 months after I moved in with them. And my face in that photo is completely different from how I looked in the photos from when I lived with my mom and Tyler. Like in the old photos, I always look sad, hunched over, like I wanted to disappear. But in this photo with my grandparents, I'm really smiling, with bright eyes and everything. And I started crying because I realized that that happy girl in the photo survived despite everything, that I survived, and that I don't owe anything to the people who tried to destroy me. And that's enough for now, I guess.